Hi everyone, in this video we're gonna create a full smooth scrolling and responsive React traveling website. This one, you're seeing it in front of you right now. So this is the full website. We're gonna create it throughout this full video. It's a quite long video, but yeah, make sure to grab a coffee or whatever and enjoy watching the whole video. And of course, make sure just to grab your code editor beside the video, just play it on and start coding alongside me so you can learn throughout the video. But anyway, so what we're going to be creating throughout the video in here is going to be called Travelia, which is a traveling agency website that just going to be like so attractive so you can, inspire people to travel with your agency to something like Indonesia, like Bali or something, or Maldives or whatever. So one of these things. As you see, this is the full landing page. You get into this with this awesome, cool looking text with an outline text, using SVGs and everything. This cool, awesome text with, navigation bar, this awesome logo. And with the smooth scrolling, you got this section, which is taking the full height of the screen. As soon as the user clicks into this one, you're going to immediately take him down to the second section where you can explore the places he is going to go into, like travel with your team into. So of course he can view different places with that. You can go back and forth between these places. You can showcase that. You can read, oh, this is Mali from Maldives, or this is iced tea, or this is exotic bromo volcanoes, whatever. But they can see that, read more about this, and of course they can go down. They can find the footer, which is pretty sick footer. That is made up responsive. Has a pretty minimal design made particularly for this traveling kind of style or aesthetic. And yeah, it's looking absolutely good. When it comes to responsiveness, this has been made always in a good way, in a responsive way, using the help, of course, of Tailwind. So if you're a completely beginner of Tailwind, this video is for you, so you can learn more stuff about Tailwind, how to build real-world awesome UI and backgrounds, linear gradients, animation, and everything throughout this video using Tailwind with React and style components. So coming back here, as I said before, responsive design will look good. So screws in here. This is a responsiveness with hamburger menu. It would look pretty sweet as well. You can scroll down, you still see this hamburger menu is still you can select between both of these, and all of those are responsive and they move as soon as you resize the screen, so they look absolutely good. And of course, the smooth scrolling works. Everything is still working absolutely fine, and you can do all the sort of stuff that you want to here with smooth scrolling. Of course, for mobile devices, if you want to select a hard screen size, for example, the iPhone X or the Pixel 2 XL, whatever, you can still get that. You can still the top section in here with the landing page, read more about it, still this awesome cool text. You click on it, you still get smooth scrolling. You can still check out the showcase images of the travel places you're going to go through, and of course this awesome footer which has all the responsiveness, and it looks pretty sick. So we're going to build through all of that through this video from scratch. We're going to start by setting up a bare empty minimum project or React project, and we're going to build our way through to creating this awesome Travelia, awesome Tailwind plus React project. So without further ado, guys, I'm not going to just make you wait longer. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's go ahead and get started. And as you can here, the first thing we need to do is actually know what technologies we're going to be using throughout this video, and of course set up and create the actual projects we're going to be working with. So the technologies first is the foremost basic and important part of all of this is actually the CRA or Create React App, which you're going to be using, of course, to just scaffold and create our project so we can get started and working on it. We're going to also use this just to initialize a template for TypeScript, so we're going to build this using TypeScript, and it's going to be so good. So we're going to use this Create React App, which is just a CLI that allows you to create and scaffold and initialize a project that has React working and everything. If you're not familiar with this, you're missing a lot, and this one is pretty famous out there. So we're going to use this CLI. The other thing, we're going to also set up and install Tailwind, and this video, since it's all about Tailwind and making sure to use Tailwind with React, so I'm going to use this one particularly. We're also going to use React icons, which provides us a large data set of icons and different icon types to use with React. So Font Awesome, Feather.js or Feather icons, Remax and CSS icons, plenty of things, and we're going to use all of those. The other one is React Responsive Carousel, so I'm going to use that for like doing an image slideshow and everything. We got the burger menu here for displaying that for like mobile devices. We're going to use that, and last but not least, we're going to use the React Responsive for doing this. And the last one, which I totally forgot, which is the Tailwind macro, which is just like a quick library that allows us to integrate Tailwind with basically style components. So we can use CSS and JS with Tailwind, and it's going to work absolutely awesome. It also even has like a plugin with VS Code, which makes it look absolutely good, and it's going to work perfectly. So this is what Tailwind is. It's just like a quick macro that allows you to do that. So we're going to be using Tailwind just to integrate style components with Tailwind, and we can use Tailwind classes right into our like style components basically. So we can create CSS in JavaScript using Tailwind as well. So this would be absolutely awesome. So we can use all of that. So that's basically the whole tech stack we're going to be using. And I'm going to start with Create React App. And of course, I'm going to start from the first beginning. I'm going to start just like scaffolding a project so we can get started and working with it. So the first thing we need to do is actually bring up a terminal, Windows, Mac, or Linux. As I'm using Linux here, you can bring up a terminal or a CMD or a shell, whatever. It will all work. Just make sure you have Node.js installed with npm and yarn. Yarn is basically optional, so you can use npm, but yeah, that's the point what I'm trying to say in here. So all you need to do, make sure you're cding into the directory you want to scaffold and create a project. You do npx create react app, and this one is going to use the CLI, is going to use npx. It's not going to install it in your system, just going to grab the binaries, the latest version by the way, and it's going to like run the CLI right on the terminal right here. So I'm going to do create react app, I'm going to do template, I'm going to use Typescript please, and I need to give it like a name, like what the project name is. It's going to be like React website Tailwind, or I think Tailwind websites. All right, so maybe you want to make sure this one is a little bit bigger. Click enter. Sorry, I misclicked. And there you go. It's going to like start creating React the application. It's going to install like the packages and everything. And of course, you're going to start seeing things in action, most importantly. So just like wait a couple of minutes. I mean it just like a minute. It's going to install the dependencies and we're going to come back. So awesome. We got that actually initialized and created. Now you can just like cd to React Tailwind website. So you can do cd Tailwind website. You click that. There you go. Now, if you just do ls, you're going to find, all the projects, files and dependencies installed for you. So you can just quickly go ahead and start it with React right over here. So all I need to do is just code with a dot. This will open me my VS Code editor basically. So I open to the second screen here, and this is what we need. Now, as clear as this is the project we're going to be working on. Now, this has been initialized, all of it using Tailwind, using TypeScript. Now, what we're going to need to do right now is actually initialize it with Tailwind. So Tailwind needs a little bit of like configuration in order to make it to work with like React app, because how Tailwind basically works, it just provides you with the huge utility classes, and like it has a huge list, literally a huge list. So what works or what happens behind the scenes just like provides you with these utility classes, and you can use any of them during the development of your projects. But later on, when you try to create the production, like the production based thing, of course, you're not going to need or use all the utilities. And to save some bundle file size, what happens is Tailwind, like the CLI itself and the installation we're going to do, right, the configuration is going to like strip off and completely remove all these unused utilities. So just like to make you only use what you already needed, what you already used from Tailwind, and not going to provide you with a whole bulk of bundle things that Tailwind basically has. So yeah, this is just going to save you a lot of like file size. And this is what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to set up Tailwind with Create React App, and this is actually a documents or docs for particularly doing that configuration. So I'm going to cd, first I'm going to go and install all of these. So those are quite needed. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to the terminal real quick. And for the terminal right here, so I mean, just go have this. I'm going to use yarn. That's why I copied only this. Click enter, and this will install me all the dependencies for basically using Tailwind. So it's going to install like the Tailwind post CSS 7, and this is basically the the latest version of Tailwind is going to be installed for you. So there you go. We got the first part of Tailwind in here. The second one in here I can grab is actually I'm going to install CRA. I don't know how to spell this, but CRA is basically like a not install. So it's like a library that allows you to hook up like custom Babel configuration and everything, and that's what Tailwind is meant for. So it's gonna allow you to just hook this up into Create React App, because Create React App doesn't allow you to basically edit the Webpack configuration it uses behind the scenes, unless you eject, of course. But we don't want to do that. So Krakow is going to provide us with this functionality. So I'm going to just like yarn add. Krakow is going to be added as well, and we're going to need to do a couple of stuff. So while this is actually installing, and boom, it has already done. Now we can jump to the package.json and go to the script in here and replace everything with Krakow or Krakow. I don't know how to spell that, but just like replace those scripts, the testing and everything. Now it uses Krakow instead of like the React script, because Krakow later on is going to use the React script behind the scenes to initialize and do all of these stuff behind the scenes. So we got all of that. So we're going to leave the ejects as it is. We don't want to mess with it. The second one in here, I'm going to copy paste this, which is the Krakow config. Now the Krakow config in here is going to be like a quite, let me just see that configuration right here. So we got the config. Now we need the config, and I need to put it in here. So you can put it like krakow.config.js, and this one is actually like, a module export, and you're gonna give it a couple of stuff. So make sure to include this Babel thing, because we wanna use this with style components, and for using this with style components, we've got to use this Babel plugin macros thing. And of course, this is just like the basic config you need to provide, okay? Pretty good. Now, inside of the package.json itself, we're also going to need to provide a couple of other plugins and everything. But let's first go ahead and install like Tailwind and everything, or the rest of the dependencies we've got. So just like you can quickly go through them. Now, the dependencies I'm going to need, yarn add, I'm going to do React icons, which is the icons library we already talked about. We got also React Burger Menu as well. We got also React Responsive and React Responsive Carousel. How do you spell carousel? There we go. And yeah, we got also React Scroll, which I totally forgot about like having, because we're gonna do like smooth scrolling and do like section scrolling, so we can click a button and it scrolls you to the next section. And this is that's like a travel website, how it basically would look like. So this library is gonna be a huge help for us in this criteria. We're also gonna use the Tailwind.macro, which is very important as well to do style components with Tailwind, and we're also gonna have styled components. Hopefully this is all. Hopefully I'm not missing anything, because there's tons of libraries we're going to be using throughout the video right here. But yeah, so this looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to click enter. I'm going to wait for those to be installed, and there you go. Now everything has been installed. I can go ahead and get rid of all of these. Now I can't save that because yeah, I need to redo that because some things happened. So I need just to type in Krakow again real quickly, and there you go. Now the other thing we need to include in order to make sure that Tailwind with Tailwind CSS to work perfectly with style components. So to do that, we need to go right here. Let's just gonna have this. I'm gonna paste this. I'm gonna just tell it Babel macros, and this is gonna be read by Krakow or Krakow itself. I'm gonna say Tailwind, please use this configuration, which is the Tailwind configuration, and please use styled components. And regarding the Tailwind configuration, let's go ahead and create that because we don't have that yet. And to initialize and create this configuration, you're going to use the Tailwind CSS CLI to do that basically. So for that, I'm going to go and grab the CLI from their documentation basically. I'm not grabbing any magic from my head. I'm just using their documentation as a reference, and I'm going to put that in here. So Tailwind CSS-CLI at latest and init, and this will initialize us. Basically, a pretty simple configuration from Tailwind, and of course we can just go ahead and get started after this configuration has been initialized and created the files for us. Alright, pretty sweet. If you take a look, this is the new file that has been created for us. Cool. Now the other thing is actually we want to replace this purge thing with this from the docs, and what this basically does is you tell it that anything you find inside of like GSX, any file inside of like the src or the index.html that includes Tailwind CSS utility classes, please make sure to like strip them off and purge them if they are not being used inside of the actual application. And this is what I was talking about before, so this will like save us a lot of bundle size, and it won't ship with the whole Tailwind utility classes that we're not using already. So yeah, this should be pretty good. And sweet. So this is the configuration. You can extend the theme, you can, variants, you can put dark mode, yes or no, and different values for that. All right, so we're good in here. Now, the last thing, I'm gonna just run yarn start to make sure we use, and it's clearly using CRA instead of like React script, whatever. So I believe we are in the right spot for this, and this should work for us. So if I go ahead and grab, so this is the application, and there you go. So it's localhost 3000 ports. We got the React application working fine. Now let me jump back in here. There's a couple stuff that we're gonna be needing to use. Now let me just go ahead and jump to the index.css, and just right before that, I'm gonna make sure to include a couple stuff to make sure that Tailwind works perfectly with React or Create React up in here. So I'm gonna do like Tailwind. I'm gonna use the Tailwind base enum in here. I'm gonna say base, so use me or give me the base classes. Tailwind, give me the components classes, and give me the utilities. So this is actually the basic stuff that you need to use, and put that inside of like the CSS, and make sure to import the CSS in your application. Otherwise, it won't work for you. But yeah, that should work. As you see, no errors coming up. So we are basically good to go. All right, sweet. So everything is actually ready right now and all good. So let me just go ahead and purge all of those. I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna just like test to make sure that works. And there you go. So this one, hello, and yes, it does work. And if I do like background green 500, as you see, I have already an into license working in here. As I type, it just like suggests to me some Tailwind CSS classes. And how I'm doing that is actually there's some extensions that you can find. You go to the extensions in here, you just type in Tailwind, you're gonna have a lot of them. But the two extensions you need, this Tailwind CSS into license, which is pretty good. I've been using this since I started. And there's the other one, which is called Twin, which can allow you to use Twin with style components. So it's gonna like give you into license while using like style components with Tailwind basically. And this is called Tailwind Twin into license. Make sure to install that too. Sweet. Now jumping back to the ship, and if I go and see, you see this is the background, and it already looks absolutely amazing. Okay, so yeah, pretty good. We're actually in the good spot here, and you can go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and get started and start working on the actual application by putting together the first homepage, or like the top section of the main website, which is basically the main section we're going to be working on. Now for this section particularly, what's going to happen is we're going to have like a couple of like separate components. We're going to create them separately, and this will follow like a clean code architecture for React components and React apps. So we're going to have them this way. Then of course we're going to like import them inside of our projects. Then we can use them inside of that, and we can of course reuse those components whenever we basically need them. So to do that, first before jumping ship, I'm gonna go ahead and like put some fonts we're gonna be using. I got like loaded up tons of fonts in here, but of course I'm not gonna recommend doing that because I'm just gonna play around with these fonts and like test what's gonna happen best. But this, just like here, at least is gonna need like 2 fonts in general, and those are loaded from Google Fonts basically. Okay, for this one, what I'm gonna also need is actually HTML body and root. So all of these should be set to like the minimum width. Okay, I'm gonna do like minimum width. Make sure to take me full width of the web page. And yeah, that's it. So this is the main index.css. We're good in here. Now I'm going to jump into the SRC. I'm going to put components, and I'm going to put another folder. I'll go back here. So another folder is going to be containers. And for the components in here, I am going to start, or let's go and start with the containers. I'm going to start with the home page. Okay. Now this home page, you're going to have an index.tsx. And remember, we're using TypeScript, not only JavaScript. I'm gonna import React in here. So this is our home page. I would call this like better than not the home page exactly, because this is actually different than the home page. So it would be something like home section or something, or top section. So let me go ahead and rename that. I'm gonna go rename this. I'm gonna name this top section. I think it would work better. So I'm gonna import function or export function. Top section, and that should do the job for it. So that should be pretty good right here. And for this one, let's go ahead and use Tailwind with Twin. So I'm gonna do TopSection container. Okay, so for the TopSection container here, I'm gonna do styled, and make sure to import styled. But styled won't work in here because we're using Typescript. So to make sure that works, I'm gonna open up a new terminal. I'm gonna install the types for style component to work. So I'm gonna do yarn add. Make sure to do dev types styled components. Okay, this shouldn't take long. And there you go, pretty good. Now if I do styled again, there you go, it's gonna find us styled. I'm gonna have a div, and to use Tailwind, I'm gonna use like including a string inside of it, and I'm gonna just use the TW, which is what gets exported from the Tailwind macro, the package we installed to work with that. So this is gonna be imported from Tailwind macro, and this will be used the same as you use a style component, just putting two backtracks in here for having strings. Then inside of that, you can basically put any Tailwind utility class. You can just have it and shove it right over there, and that would just make it work, and it's going to work with IntelliSense and everything, and really beautiful colors, by the way, just to help you visualize what it's actually working on and what the classes are doing behind the scenes. So yeah, that would be absolutely tremendous and pretty good. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. For this, I'm going to use flex. I'm going to do width. Please have me full width, and I'm going to do the height is going to be the screen height. Why? Because I want to make sure this TopSection container, as soon as the user lands into the page, I want to have this container just to take the full height of the screen, so the user would just oh, that looks pretty sick. Then he can go down and click on a button, and it's just take him to the next section, and so on and so forth. So this is what smooth scrolling or section-based websites have to be including, right? Okay, so this is the screen in here and everything. For flex, I also want a column flex thing, and I want to have some relative in here in case we have absolute, which of course we're gonna have later on. All right, pretty good. I'm gonna just go in and return this top section container, and this should do the job for us. All right, so I'm gonna save this one. I'm gonna jump back in here. I don't have anything, so I need to go ahead and render. Okay, and here I'm gonna create another one. So up container. So styled. I don't think I need styled. I just need Tailwind, because you can use Tailwind by itself in here. It would work. Width full, height full, or height full. Sorry. Okay, so up container. I'm gonna have top section. All right, pretty good. So this up container doesn't have a constructor call. Okay, yeah, I need to have something in there. So that should be a div. All right, sweet. So we got both of these, and there you go. We got an empty canvas just to start drawing at. So yeah, we can easily go ahead and get started with this. So the components, or the main components we need to get started to create the navigation bar and everything is basically the components to use with the logo. All right. So for doing this, let me just go and zoom in a little bit of to the font in here, just for you guys to see exactly. But the point is, I was pointing out is we need this component. So I'm gonna create a logo component. I'm going to have an index.tsx, importing React as well, of course, exports function logo, and this should be the logo thing we need. Also, I'm going to do const logo container. This should use styled, and I'm going to use div. I'm going to use some Tailwind. All right, so this should be having first a custom font family, and this font family is going to be called something ZCool QLI. I don't know how to spell that. Sorry if I'm misspelling that, but yeah, that should be a good font family just to display the logo in. It just looks so, this kind of handwritten logos or font families, so it would make the logo look absolutely standing out, and it's meant for traveling kind of themes and, you know, just like the criteria in general. So that's what I'm trying to include right over here. The other one is the font black. We also get text. I'm gonna have some like text with the 2XL, and I'm gonna also like have some text on white. All right, because I want this to be on white. As you see here, this particular extension, which is the Tailwind Initializes, it just like colors those classes, because I typed in here text white, just gave that text exactly that class like a white text. So just differentiate that. It looks absolutely good. So that looks pretty good. And here, by the way, I haven't explained this. So how this basically works, I need to wrap this in a string, is basically you can like have it your own custom font family just by providing it inside of this like brackets, and you would use them perfectly. And this is made up from Tailwind. So you can do this even with like the normal CSS classes of Tailwind. You can just like put them in line and you can have it this way, and you can just like have custom values. You can do it as well with like pixels, width and height, you know, font sizes and different stuff basically. Sweet. So I'm gonna return logo container, and yeah, so this is basically the logo container, and I'm gonna name our application something like Travelia. I don't know, you can basically come up with a better name, but yeah, I can't figure out a much better name than this silly one. But anyway, it should do the job. So going back to the top section, now going to the components, I'm going to create another one, which is, I'm going to call this the Navbar, or the navigation bar. I'm going to have this uppercase as well as this. Okay, so index, TSX again, importing React from React, and I'm going to export a function, which is the Navbar. So at least Copilot is kind of helping me here behind the scenes just to make that look a little bit better. All right, so for this one to get started, we're gonna have a couple of stuff first. I'm gonna, of course, use style components and Tailwind and everything. I'm gonna like do this like, I'm gonna have container first. Okay, I'm gonna use styled. So this be like the main container of the navigation bar and everything. So I'm gonna have display flags and then justify content to be like, you know, yeah, I don't want this. I want to use Tailwind. Sorry. So we kind of can use Tailwind in here. So I can put flags. I can also put like some height to H20. So this will be, if you just like hover over this, it's gonna give you like 5 REM. So 80 pixels. You know, mostly. So I'm gonna have padding from the left, same as the padding from the right of 6. I'm gonna also do some padding from the top, about 4. I'm gonna do some border, just B-2. For this, just like to have some border bottom, and I want to make this stand up. Also, I'm gonna have like a border grayish border. As you see, just like it gives that a border, it text the border. I want to decrease the opacity of the border. So you do border opacity, then you give it like how much you want. I'm gonna do 50, which is 0.5 basically. So 0.5 for the opacity, and I'm gonna do items center just to make sure like you center that like vertically. And yeah, so the other thing I'm gonna do self center to be, you know, just like to center the actual navigation bar like horizontally for this self center. And yeah, so that should be good enough for the actual container. We're gonna need a couple of other stuff in here. So I'm gonna use the navigation items. So nav items. I'm gonna do styled. For this, I'm gonna use UL, or basically just gonna use Tailwind since we don't need any separate classes. The reason I would use this styled .dev instead of like doing TW or Tailwind.ul or .dev is because in here you can include custom CSS, like you can do, for example, color, red, whatever. You can have this custom CSS going up in there. So since this is actually an ordered list, I'm gonna have like list none, which is gonna like have no styling around the list. It's not gonna include those bullet points for the list or something. For the width, I'm gonna have this full width, and the height is gonna be auto but I want to like include some responsive design already. And how I actually want to build this is basically have this a mobile first design. And what I mean by a mobile first design is actually you start designing for mobile devices first, like mobile aspect ratios and mobile, you know, small screens and everything. Then you go up. This way you find it much easier than you support mobile devices first, because everyone is basically using mobiles. And more importantly, it's going to make it much easier for you to design the website rather than just like building it from up to mobiles, or like up and down, or down to up, or whatever you want to call it. But that's the point here. So I want to have like no height to this, because yeah, you don't want to include any height to the UL in here, because this one is already taking height. So I want to make sure that it takes only the needed height for this. The second thing I'm gonna make sure it takes, if it's large, so LG in here makes you actually use, as you see, media queries in here, and this is all made up from Tailwind. And this is why I love Tailwind, and this is what probably a lot of other people love to use Tailwind more particularly, because it provides you with this like you know, selectors or like utilities that you can basically like prepend them. You say like LG, and this the style you put afterward. For example, I want height to be full, so this H full or 100% of height is only going to be applied to larger screens. And larger screens is actually like more than 1024 pixels, or the minimum width of that is actually 1024 pixels. How cool is that? But this one will be like having it everything, right? So this will apply it to this, will make it just work for like bigger screens, which is quite perfect for doing like, you know, responsive design. So I just like included this LG, then whatever comes after it, you already got a responsive design, and that was that simple, easy. Okay, I want to include flex boxes in here. I want to have flex working. Also for larger screens, I want to like do 20 or something. I want to justify to the center. Justifying the center in here is actually going to justify it like horizontally, and also do like item center. So this will be both horizontally and vertically like centered. Okay, sweet. So nav items and everything. That's pretty good right now. So the second one is actually a single navigation item. So nav item, I'm gonna use a tailwind.li. So this is a list item. Now for the list item, I'm gonna have a couple of stuff. I'm gonna say, for example, for larger screens, I'm gonna have like some margin from the right. So M and the R, sorry, is basically saying margin right. I'm gonna give it 8. And if you take a look on this, it's gonna be like 2 rem, which is around 32 pixels. Okay. The other one, I'm gonna use like flex. I'm gonna say this should be a flex. I'm gonna do items center just to center stuff there. Justify center is actually going through that. A minimum height, I'm gonna give it like full height. So this will take the full height. And why? Because I want to include some border like beneath that. And how I want this border to look like is basically like you can have the border just to stand up like the same height of this border right here. So it just like, it looks like this one is being selected, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm having right here. The other one is actually, I'm going to introduce some text white for this to, you know, shine up. The cursor as well, I want to make sure that the cursor is a pointer. So make sure that is a link. For the text, I'm going to have medium text, or for the font, sorry, another text. And for the text, I'm going to have some like, let's say text base, or large text, okay, instead of base. And yeah, for like, you know, larger screens in here, I can go in and do like text base. Okay, there you go. And I want to also include some transition, and for this transition, and the reason I'm doing both of these in here, like the text LG and the text base, I'm actually resizing that and making it smaller on larger screens, because this would be like the actual navigation bar, but for this text LG will be on the hamburger menu, because this is already like a mobile you know, aspect ratio. This will be applied to the mobile stuff, because whatever comes up after with this bigger than that is going to have this text base like initiated and applied to it. So I'm gonna have transition, I'm gonna have like colors. So transition, all the colors, and this is a pretty good CSS property from Tailwind as well. So you can have transition property, background color, border color, and everything. The type of function is gonna be like this cubic bizarre from Tailwind as well. And the duration is 150, which is not really well for me. So I can do a custom duration. So I can do transition duration. I can provide it 300 milliseconds. Okay, I can do actually as well like a hover effect, and this will look absolutely good. So what I can do about this is actually you can say, for example, text gray, and let's say I want to do hover effect. So whenever you hover over the mouse, this will be applied, and of course the transition will be applied too. The other one is actually box content. I would make sure this is having box content instead of border content, if that makes sense for you. And the last one is actually I'm going to like margin bottom. So I'm going to give it some margin, but I'm going to get rid of this. One is 0. Why? Because I want to create some separation between the menu items when it comes to hamburger and mobile devices. All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and get up and running with this. So for this, to make that work, I'm going to go into render stuff first. So I'm going to do let me see. So I'm going to first do the container. So this will be the container. The second one is actually the logo. So make sure to import the logo. The other one is actually going to have like the menu items and everything. But before doing this, I want to create my menu items in like a variable. So why? Because I want to reuse those menu items. Like this is going to be going inside of this particular variable, if that makes sense. So for the menu items, what I want to do is actually like render the menu items right on here. So I can have, for example, so I can do like a navigation item. So this would be like that should have like items inside of it. So you can have a navigation item. Okay, Copilot is sometimes a little bit crazy, but yeah, anyway. So for this one, I can like provide it with some stuff. I can go ahead and tell you that please go ahead and do this, and I want to use the link. And what the link is, so the link should be imported from the React scroll. So from React scroll. Yeah, it says like there's no definition types, which I basically need to go ahead and install. So you're on add, types, React scroll, and make sure to do --dev to install that, of course. All right, pretty sweet. So that has been installed. I can go back right here. So yeah, the link in here is actually like, hyperlink, like the A tag. And as soon as you put it and you click it, it's going to take you to another section as soon as we define it. So that's what React scroll is basically is and what the link is. So I want to have those links out because whenever I want to click, for example, on the explore section, I want to take it down to the second section, or like I want to click on like the first section, like the home, come back and stuff. So, theoretically, this is how it should work. So I can have it this, I say to where you should go. And here you put the name of the section which you already defined, which we haven't already defined it yet, which we're going to define in a second. But I want to, for example, go to home and take me home here. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to have 2 more items. For example, take me to explore and explore. And if I go back in here, this, I don't know, like travel places or something, or like travel, I don't know, tour package. Well, let's say travel places, okay? And for example, travel places. The other thing we want to use actually the React responsive to decide whether we are actually like on mobile or not, so we can display the hamburger menu or not. So for this particularly, what we can have is actually you can use the media query to do that. So for example, I can do is mobile, and I can do use media query, which is imported from the React responsive package we installed, and I can give it like maximum width. But we don't have a width to assign to, and we can't get that from Tailwind. Likely, I know what Tailwind actually already uses as a breakpoints in pixels. So I can put that in a separate component. For example, we can have this as responsive index.tsx or just tx, because this is a Typescript thing. And of course I can have those. So as you can see, I can paste them here. This is the mobile, tablet, laptop, desktop, and the widescreen, and those are in pixels, right? Okay, pretty good. So we got that set max width. I can, for example, do device size, and I can grab, let's say, oh, maximum width should be a mobile, and this should be applied to. All right. Now, if it is mobile, okay. If we are in mobile in here, what it wanted me to do is actually put like the hamburger of the mobile itself. So to do that, I can go in and like do the menu and everything. So I can go and import that from the mobile hamburger. So I can do slide as menu from React Burger Menu. And of course, as always, we need to install the dependencies. So types React Burger Menu, and this should install us the the dev dependencies at types and everything. And of course, we can go in and use this menu whenever we want. So I can put the menu right here, and inside of it, here I can tell it like right or left. I want to like the menu to come from the right to the left, and this is what tells it to do. Also, I want to give it some styles, which I'm going to give you in a second. And here I can just give it the navigation items basically. So for this, make sure to do end. And otherwise, if it's not mobile, just go ahead and like render out the navigation items in here. Now for the styles, I already got the styles in here. So I'm going to go ahead and like put the styles right into this menu styles. So I can do menu styles dot Typescript. And those styles are actually in JavaScript styles. Of course, you can convert those into CSS if you would like to, but I got those from the React Burger Menu components page, which are, just like custom-made styles. Yeah, so you can use them in here. And of course, you can play around with them just to make the menu look much better for you, the hamburger menu. They are pretty basic styles. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and import those styles. So import styles from menu styles, and of course I can go into the menu in here and say, oh, styles, please go in and use me this particular size. Sweet. And this should make us the navigation bar ready for us to be used across the application. Now I can go back to the top section. Right over here in the top section, I can do like Navbar, and we can just go in and see how that looks like. So if I refresh, I don't know why I need to refresh. As you see, it doesn't look like there's this one. It might look a little bit, but it doesn't really look because, it's in white, and of course, obviously you can't see that. But the overall general rule of thumb, that should work absolutely fine. Yeah, so that should be pretty good. I can jump back in here. I can go to VS Code. So let me go to VS Code right here. Yeah, so that should be pretty good for the top section in here, or the navigation bar in general. So it should be perfect enough for us to like have the everything that we need, like container and everything. So yeah, pretty sweet. We got the top section, so hopefully we got everything rendered right. Now let's go ahead and work, or basically build the actual top section we're gonna have just to worry about, which is showing like the image and everything. And before jumping any ships in here, I'm gonna go and grab my images that I've already like scaffolded, they're like prepared for that to be working. So I'm gonna grab this huge images folder. I'm gonna put it inside of the src. This one has tons of different images, right? I'm not gonna use all of those, but of course you can feel free to use those. I brought those from the Unsplash website for free. I'm going to use some of them, of course, but yeah, you can use whatever, you can choose whatever you want to use inside of that images folder. All right, pretty good and pretty sweet. So let's start by this. And since our website, our travel website, is going to be mainly like about Indonesia and Bali in general, so I'm going to use photos inspired by that. And this is actually a pretty good photo I had, which is Indonesia high resolution.jpg. So I'm going to use this background image right here. I'm going to create another container, basically. So this container will be like the landing section container, which is, going to have the background image and everything. So I'm going to do landing section. Okay, it's not going to be container. No need for that. So I'm going to have this one. I'm going to use Tailwind again, as we usually do for this particular one. So make sure the width takes full. For the H screen, or the height to take the screen, it's actually going to take the huge, or basically the full view ports of the actual screen basically in here. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to do flex and flex column. All right, so that should make it look good for like landing screen section. I want to get right out of the Tailwind. I want to have like some background image. So I'm going to do background image. I'm going to do like URL. So I'm going to have this background image right here. And of course, I'm going to introduce some linear gradient to it. So I'm going to copy some linear gradients I got. This linear gradient is basically like blue to a little bit like a grayish blue, if that makes sense. And this is going to go to the left. Like it's going to go from the right all the way to the left. So this is what the linear gradient I want it to look like. For different other stuff like the background position and everything, I want to do like background size is going to be cover, background position. So for background position is going to be like bottom. I'm going to have like 10%. Of course, it depends on the background and how you want to look it. You can of course have media queries and responsiveness put into this, but my image in here works really well on both screens or different screen sizes, if that makes sense. The last one is actually background blend mode, and the blend mode here tells it how it should operate. I want to make sure this goes as an overlay. So it would go, make sure this image and the linear gradient goes as an overlay. All right, sweet. So that is pretty good. So this is basically the landing section that I'm going to need. Let's go ahead and have this landing section first, just to showcase how that should look like. Okay, so I'm going to go navigation bar, and right before this, I'm going to have the landing section. And I'm going to wrap the navigation bar with this landing section because I want the nav bar to be inside of this landing section, and I want the landing section basically to take like the full height of the screen and whatever screen it is. Okay, so if I refresh, I'm not sure why this is not showing up. Okay, so this should be, where is that? So it kind of didn't find it, or kind of like didn't work perfectly. I think because we didn't put a comma separating those, right? Yeah, we didn't. And you're going to go back here, and there you go. So this is our image. As curious in here, looks absolutely tremendous, and this is the navigation bar. But for some reason, the navigation bar is being stretched out, and I don't want this to happen to it. So let me go back to the nav bar in here. Let me say, I don't want this to be like that. Or maybe I do want to. But I want to give it like a minimum height of, or minimum width, sorry. So I want to make sure, okay, I don't know. Maybe I can do width. Okay, or since we already have that, so I don't know why I put this color red, but let me get rid of it. And I want to make sure to take the width of 90%. I don't want to take the full width, but only 90%, so I can do self-center and it should work. Okay, if you go back to exclusive, you've got Travelia in here, you got like home, explore, places, stuff like that. But yeah, overall it looks pretty sweet. So also I want to like large, the width should be auto on large screens. I don't want this to, to be like on the center and everything. But yeah, there you go. So this is like the travel places and everything. And as well for the travel places, I want this to be like 100 instead of too much, or even 200. I think 200 would be much better in this particular terms. Good, sweet. So this is the navigation bar. It should look absolutely amazing. And we got, just like beneath that, we got basically the screen in here and the cool image. Now, the most important part of this landing section is actually having the text that goes right, a little bit to the right basically. And you say like, for example, word of like Paradise, Indonesia or something cool and attractive just to the user. So whenever the user lands on this page particularly, he looks into this section and this container, he says, wow, this looks good. And the text is going to be like pretty self-explanatory. It's going to say, this is Indonesia. So this looks absolutely good. And of course, the image looks pretty good already. So I just want to fill out this empty area in here with some cool looking and attractive text and pretty self-explanatory as well. And this should be good enough. Okay. So let's go ahead and have that working from this particular section. All right. So let's go into like the text I want, and the text is going to be a little bit like, tricky because you need to work with some pixels and stuff like that just to make sure the text goes perfect on both mobile devices, medium-sized devices, and large-sized devices like 1080p and up. So yeah, you want to design for all of these, and you want to just like, keep trying the pixels and stuff like that. So likely I already did that on my screen here. So I'm just going to try to explain this while I do it, so you can easily see what I mean and why I did that particularly. Okay, good. So let's start with the first part. I'm going to do the info section, which is the main section that's going to hold the whole text we're going to be using. So this is going to be info section. All right. So this one will be like a div, as we always do. So this will be regularly a normal div, whatever. Use Tailwind, of course. Now I'm going to use Tailwind right here. Now for the info section, first is going to be an absolute section because yeah, I wanna put this inside of the container. I don't put it whatever it wants inside of the container, so make sure to be an absolute. For the top in here, we're gonna start putting these variables in pixels. That's why I'm using this particular notation. I'm putting top, then I'm putting opening and closing a bracket inside of like between both of these brackets. I want to have the the size in pixels, and this is what Tailwind is actually pretty good as well. That's what I love about Tailwind. You don't need to care about like regular standard CSS. Tailwind can save your butt basically at the end, and this should look good. All right, so I can have this like 150 pixels for the top, and this should be applied to like small screens and mobile device screens because as we talked before, this is actually a mobile first design. So we start designing for mobile, then we specify the other selectors for different or bigger screen sizes. All right, the other one left is going to be 3, pretty good. I want also now for the large one, I want the top to be something like 150 pixels. Also for large ones, I want like right to be on 10, so I want to just like push it out a little bit to the right. Now right 10 in here is like 2.5 rem. All right. And the large in here, so I'm gonna have like left auto. I don't want to have any left because I want to clear the left I've already left up there. For the 2 like XL, which is basically 1080p, like almost 1080p. Yeah, you can start doing that. So for like right, I can do 60, which is a lot. So I'm gonna just like push it as much as you could to the right. For the top as well, I'm gonna do like something 240 pixels. And 2XL as well, last but not least. Now left auto, so I want to clear this left again. Sweet, that's basically for the info section that's going to hold the whole text. And this is a pretty important section, by the way. Good. The other one is actually the floating text. And now the floating text is going to be the regular standard text, like normal text that you want to see. So we have 2 types of text. One is going to be the regular text. You can just like, type the text, whatever. The second one is going to be the outlined text you already saw on the preview section, the first section of the video, which is like completely outlined, like an empty in the inside, and it has some stroke going over it just to make this look like a really good and make it like an outlined text, to be honest. So for this to work, we need to use SVGs, and we need to like design SVGs by our own, and this will be a little bit tricky. Okay, but let's start with this one. This will be like the floating text. So I'm going to have this as an H1. And this will be a little bit good for like SEO. So I'm going to use Tailwind in here. So I'm going to have some margin. It's going to be 0. I don't want to introduce any margin whatsoever. The font is going to be black. So it's going to have like completely, bold, like extra bold or whatever you want to call this, which is black. And the other one, I'm gonna have like text white, so this should be completely white. I'm gonna have font size to be something like 60 pixels, and this should be applied for mobile devices. The other font size I'm gonna have is basically like 25 pixels. Well, this should be line height. So line height is basically the spacing between like one text and the other text like underneath it, so, or right just below it. The other one is font size for the large screens. So this one will be like 125 pixels, something like this, and the line heights, I'm gonna have not 50 but 90 pixels, about that. And for the 2EXL, which is, as I said before, 1080p or something, for this, let's say 170 pixels, and those are an exact values just to make it work. Of course, you can play around with this however you would like, just to make it look the way you want, but this is perfect already, and this would look pretty good already. Okay, and this is the line height. So this is like the factors you need to play with. The other one, I want to introduce some font family. I want to use Archivo or Archivo, whatever we want to call it, and this will be a narrow one. And what I mean by narrow is going to be like a tall font face, so it's going to give us this tall characters of words of font, and this would look pretty good. And last but not least, I'm going to make sure this flex and items to be centered on the center. Cool. Alright, so pretty sweet. We got that as a floating text. Now jump in to the next section, which is the outline text SVG. So this will be an SVG, as I said before. So .svg. Now this is the trickiest part, and you need to like know a little bit of SVGs to be able to work on this. So I'm going to first put the font and make sure to set the font as bold, like has in, for example, 100 pixels, century, and I'm going to use Archivo narrow fonts, which I've used like on top there, and fall back to Arial if it doesn't exist. Now I'm going to use Tailwind, so I'm going to do Tailwind, put that beneath. So I'm going to put, for example, the width is going to be like 550 pixels. So this will decide the full width of the actual SVG we're going to be using. So this is very important as well, just to decide how the SVG is wide and how big it is and everything. For the height as well is going to be also a pretty important deciding factor for all of this stuff. So I'm going to have a width and a height for that, for the large screens as well. So for example, this shouldn't be a 580 pixels and something like 110 pixels. Okay, and the 2XL, yeah, I could have like copy paste that, because I think that would be much better than just like typing it right here. 110 pixels. And there you go. So this should do the job for us. Now outside this, or just like inside of it, I'm going to do flex and the, and make sure the overflow is an overlay. I don't know, there is an overflow overlay here for that to work? Yeah, there isn't for some reason, so I can do this outside an overflow overlay. Alright, so this is why I'm doing overflow overlay, just like basically like hidden, but it's much better, so you can overflow it easily without having issues. So it won't affect the size of the text. If it's big, like so tremendously huge, it won't affect that on mobile devices. So yeah, it would look good. The other one is actually going to have the text child. I'm going to basically copy this because this should be pretty simple stuff. So the only section that needs your attention, yeah, here for this one, I'm going to have like, maximum height and everything, stroke. So this is how we make the outline. You just put the fill to be none, and the stroke is going to be like having some width, which is 2 pixels. I'm going to have a rounded line join just to make the stroke a little bit like rounded, which makes it look good. And here for the Tailwind in here, what I'm doing is actually just transforming the text depending on the area it is. So like for larger screens or mobile devices or medium screens, yeah, I'm having them like, different, transforming the Y, so horizontally basically. And I'm having some text shadow in here, which is barely being used. And yeah, so that's basically what text it is, and this should be the outline text SVG, and this should like render the outline text for us. The other part is actually the description part. So for this one, I'm gonna do like description text, and I'm gonna have this one as a paragraph, and again, this will be for SEO purposes. For this one, I'm gonna like put text LG, this will be a text white. I'm gonna have some text opacity into it, like 80 or 70, just to make this look much better than just like making it look in a bad contrast. For the margin top, I want to have like leave this between this description, which is gonna come right underneath the basically the info section, which is or inside of the load section, but it's gonna be like beneath the text. So I'm gonna like leave some spacing behind that. And for the maximum width is going to be only large, and for the 2XL maximum width is going to be like XL, so just like increasing the maximum width to make that look good. All right, and yeah, that should be good enough. The last thing I think we need is actually the view more button, which is, you know, the icon where the user clicks and it's going to take him down to the next section, because remember, this section, this top section thing is going to take the full height of the screen, so the user won't be able to see what's actually going on. So yeah, he has to click on that button to take him down. All right, so that should be good. So this is the view more button. There should be a button, and it's going to have a Tailwind whatever thing. So it's going to be an absolute, because I want to put this whatever it wants. Now for bottom, I want to leave some some space from the bottom. Left, I want to make sure this to be half, so one of the two. And I want to do like translate. I have a minus in here, so I want to translate minus the half. And this is the trick that you use for CSS, but just, you know, like transferring that to Tailwind to make sure you center and absolutely positioned a div or button or whatever elements you have. The other one is the text white, because I want this icon to be white, and the size is going to be like 4XL. This should tell us like the font size, and the line height and everything. And the transition, of course, I'm going to have some transition going on. Duration, for example, I'm going to have like 200. Further duration, and let's say some hover. I'm going to like have some greenish color to this, like going 400 or something whenever you hover over that. Okay, so that's the view more button. Sweet. Now let's go inside of the landing section and actually have that up and running. So I first got the info section, which is gonna have, you know, the text we're gonna have floating. So this will have the floating text first. So this will be the floating text. The floating text first, the first thing I want to have like on the first line is gonna be the word. So word, just like that. The second one, let me copy paste that. So the second one in here is actually going to have auth. So I'm going to have auth first, but just right at the same line, I'm going to have the outline text, which is going to be paradise. So I'm going to use the outline text SVG. So here I'm going to put the SVG. I'm going to put the text element inside of it to make sure I put text inside of the actual SVG itself. For the view box, I need to also put a view box. So 0, 0, I can like 530 pixels by 100 on the height. Of course, it depends on the size of your text, on how those values are. So yeah, just choose them wisely. The other one is I'm gonna like do paradise. And of course, this one should have some style to be like an inline, or display to be inline flex. Just to make sure that both of these, the off one, the off word, and the paradise word, which is inside of an SVG, go inside of the same thing. Like they go on the same line, particularly. So that should look good. And here I need a comma after paradise, after the word itself. And last but not least, I might need the other one, which is the last word, which is going to be normal. So this will be Indonesia, and with a dot at the end. All right, so hopefully that looks good. I can put the description right after that on the floating section. So this is what the description is. Just a pretty ugly description. So the description text, it should look good already. Yeah, so last but not least, let's go and see. Hallelujah. So how does that look like to you guys? It's pretty sweet. Like you see that it's the word. There is just right after it is of paradise, and this outline paradise text is kind of so good. And we got this Indonesia. So Indonesia with a dot at the end. It looks so good. And of course you got some description. Of course you can write more into this. You can like have more text beneath in that. But I think simple is the best way to approach that, and that is simple enough. All right, let's have the button down there, which is the last one. So after info section, I can do the view more button, and right for this view more button, I can do link, which is I want whenever you click this button, I want to take you to the next section. So that's why I'm going to use the link from the React scroll in here. So as being imported from that. So for this, I'm going to do link. I'm going to do to, and please take me to the explore, which is going to be the name of our next section. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to use like BS arrow down, which I need to import. Okay, so I need to import this. The name is BS arrow down circle, and this one is going to be imported from the React icons we installed. So it's going to be /BS, which is the the BS. I don't know what that's called, but yeah, that should look good. I should put that here, so that should look good already. And yes, here I want to include some smoothing into it. So there's this smooth property on the React scroll, and you can tell it like which function you want to use. And there's this ease in app quad, which is a good function that makes you to like ease in first, but whenever you just like reaching your destination, just like slows down in a quadratic function, which makes it look so sweet. So having it this one, of course you can choose different one if you want to. And the duration here, I want this to be taking like 1.5 seconds, and the duration is in milliseconds, so that's why this is the 1.5 seconds. All right, sweet. So you got link, arrow circle down and everything. Yeah, sweet. Let's go and see that. And there you go. So this is the circle. As you see, as soon as I take the mouse over it, it just gives us this really sweet color. And now what I want is actually, as soon as I click this, it takes us to the next section, which we don't have, but this should look good. But before jumping ship, let's go ahead and see how mobile design looks like anyway. So if there's any issues, I can come back and actually fix them for that particularly. All right, so that is looking good. And if I go here, exclusively, we already got this hamburger menu. Exclusively, click it, it shows up. But we got, for some reason, this issue that is, just like stopping it from working and not really working properly. That is taking this for, it's not making it take the full width and the full height. So just after refreshing the browser here, seems like some issue with the browser, but we still got this ugly horizontal scrolling. So we don't want that horizontal scrolling to come up. Sorry for this, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one here. I'm going to go to the index CSS. I'm going to go to the root, or more particularly, let's go ahead and use the app.tsx, and here I'm going to do overflow, and it's going to be hidden. Okay, I don't want any overflow to go inside of the app container whatsoever, just to make it look good. As you see, it already is gone, so that is looking pretty good. The other thing, the description in here is actually overflowing, so I don't want that to happen. So I can take this down a little bit for the top section, description. And depending on exclusive, we got text large. This should be for the large ones, but the smaller ones just gonna be the base, I guess, if that makes sense. Or I think less than base. Okay, smaller. I don't think it's the problem with the text really, because the text is large and is good. I think it's with a maximum. So if it's large, maximum width is large, and here I can do maximum width let's say what does it have? It has medium, minimum. Okay, maybe medium. Maybe less than that for small. There you go. Yeah, it looks much better in my opinion. Let's say I want to have it like this. Text. Yeah, I think for a mobile device that would look 100% better in terms of that. So that is looking good, and it should, like, as soon as he taps on this, it should take him, or he chooses the menu, goes like home or explore or travel places or wherever, and of course it can take him to the right place as well with this hamburger menu. And of course, if you choose this is an ordinary responsive. So CRA responsiveness is happening behind the scenes in here as soon as you like do it. CRA, as soon as like you get that running, so this should work and run as you want it to be. And yeah, that was just like a quick like issue with that. So yeah, that should look good. Sometimes the browser crashes with the styles and everything because you're using hot reloading with React. So yeah, that shouldn't be a problem anyway. And yeah, so there you go. So that looks pretty good. This is the page, the Travelio, the logo looks pretty sweet with these awesome fonts. Yeah, this word of paradise Indonesia is kind of top perfect. And yeah, so you can go in and click that, take you down and everything. So yeah, pretty sweet. Now let's go in and have the second section, which is going to be named Explore section, where we're going to have, like, for example, like a quick description and say, this is the carousel, this is like the slideshow of images or travel places we are going to go to. So you can like do like explore. Of course, you can go in and like go to this, and during this journey, if you join us like on the trip to go into Indonesia, so this is what's going to happen basically, and this is the place you're going to like visit in like Bali and stuff like that, just to showcase the users where we are going, because this is a travel trip and you need to get the attention and make sure this looks like an attractive place, and we're going to go to like pretty good places. So that's it. So jumping back, I'm going to create a new container. I'm going to name this Explore section. Okay, and this is going to be obviously an index.tsx. So I'm going to import that first React from React, as we usually do. Export function, explore section, and that should be it. I don't need this dummy div that you got me, Copilot. I'm going to export. I'm not exporting, but I'm going to create. Yeah, I'm going to create actually the explore section container. And this should use styled, or I can go in and use Tailwind directly. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure to take the full width of the section, because this is what section is. Also, I want this section to take the full height of the screen, like the full viewport of the screen. So it's gonna like take the full screen as soon as the user. So that's how like smooth scrolling should work. Also got flex and flex column. And to this, we also want like some relative, if any like absolute position goes on, like padding from the top one, padding from the bottom one, just like leave a little bit of padding. If it's Excel, I'm gonna leave a little bit more padding, like 4 or something, or I don't know, 2 maybe. Bottom 2, also I want to leave that, and I want to center all the things to the center, like there's gonna be centered horizontally because we selected flex to be as a column direction. Okay, pretty good. Now the second one here we got, there's actually, we're gonna have some title and everything. So those gonna be small stuff. So I'm gonna have a title. This will be like an H1, which gonna represent the the main title of the current section we have. So I don't know, I don't need that. I can just do tailwind.h1. Let's say there's going to be text to Excel. Now, if the screen is bigger, I want this to be for Excel. Also, if the screen is pretty large, I want this to be like 5XL, even more. I think 5XL should do the job. Also, I'm going to have like some margin top and bottom if it's too big, the screen. So only for 2 XL, I'm going to have margin bottom and top to be 6. And text gray is going to be 800. So we're going to have like only grayish text to this. I'm not gonna have a completely pitch black. So font bold as well, and I'm gonna have text center, okay, just to center stuff. Sweet. Another one, I'm gonna have a section info, which is gonna be a styled, or since this is an info, yeah, we can have this as a paragraph. So I can do a P. For example, I can have this as a text base. 2XL, so text large. So if the screen is a little bit bigger, I want to take this bigger as well. I'm gonna have this text grayish of like 300 or 400, or let's say 700. In that regard, I want to also center stuff, completely center it and everything. So margin to the top and margin to the top if it's 2XL. I want to kind of like increase this, or yeah, I think I need to just decrease that because that's going to leave a lot of gap and I don't want this to happen. And the maximum width is going to be like large, so I don't want this to take like a pretty huge width, because this is going to be having a paragraph and I don't want the paragraph to be on a single line, if that makes sense. So I want the paragraph to be stretched in more like a paragraph and to be centered right into the center of the page. So that would look like a paragraph that is just like a description of the particular section we are having it on. So yeah, that should make sense. The other one is maximum width 3XL, and yeah, there you go. So that should be the section info. That should be pretty good. I'm gonna have another one. So explore section wrapper, and this is where we're gonna have the carousel on the slideshow. So this will be like a wrapper container for it. Okay. Make sure to take the full width. Height is going to be full as well, so this will be like a wrapper. And I'm going to also use flex column and everything. I'm going to put everything on the center from both vertically and horizontally. So I'm going to have also items on the center in here. I'm also going to have like margin from the top, like a little bit of margin from the top, just to separate the description or the section info from this explore wrapper. Margin top to the Excel. And margin top to 10 regarding that, and maybe like maximum width of this, like just a little bit small. Excel max 3XL, and the 2XLs for like larger screens, I want to increase the width, right? Because this container, or this, why I call it a wrapper, because it's gonna like control the width and the height of the slideshow carousel we're going to have, and that basically means it's going to control the width and the height of the actual images that's going to be inside of the carousel. So how big it is and how wide it is and everything. Of course, it's going to keep the same aspect ratio. That's why having like hit width in here, I'm just going to use maximum width instead of like using like a minimum width, just to give it a constraint or something. I'm just using maximum width just to keep the original aspect ratio of the image, and I don't want to distort or stretch up or stretch down the image or any of that sort. Yeah, so that should make it pretty good, and that should make this make sense for you. Okay, so that's the wrapper. The other stuff actually left is actually got the item and the description. So both of these, so for the item in here, I'm gonna need to use styled. So this will be a single item, and what I mean by an item is gonna be like basically the name of the current image we're viewing. So for example, this will be flex column. Okay, and it's gonna have an image inside of it. Okay, so the image is gonna be taking the full width and the full height. So the maximum full width, height full, and max width full. So as I said before, I don't want to like control the aspect ratio. I just want to take that maximum width if it's possible, and I don't want to like distort the maximum or the aspect ratio. And the last one here is actually the description that goes underneath each image. So I want to have like just a title saying, oh, this is Bali, or this is the mountains of whatever is available in Indonesia. I'm not sure about that. Sorry, Indonesian guys. But yeah, I'm just trying to like learn all of these. So I'm going to have a description, which is a Tailwind P. So I'm going to have Tailwind in here. All right. So yeah, I shouldn't include Tailwind inside of it. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna have, for example, text gray is gonna be 300. I'm gonna have some like text center, and also I'm gonna have some background. This is gonna be a completely pitch black background into it. I'm gonna give it some bottom like height or just padding or margin from the bottom, since it's gonna be an absolute position. So left is gonna be on the center, and padding left, padding right, padding top and bottom. Okay, they are gonna have like 2, 2, and 4, 4. Also gonna have some rounded just to make this look like a label. So it's gonna be 2XL, opacity is like 80 for this. So just like leave a little bit of opacity to see what is behind it, just in contrast to make this look better. And I want to also transform this just to make it look good. So I want to translate back to center it minus 50%. Okay, so where's the percentage sign? Good. And last but not least, I need to have the absolute position in here. So that should look absolutely good. So let's have the explore section container. And this is the basic, most important container of all of those. So that should be returned in here. So Tailwind, and for this Tailwind, yeah, I can use a div, but I would rather use a section because that's what we want. We want smooth scrolling, and this section is going to represent an actual section within the React scroll package. So for that to work, I need to go in and import that. So I can import section from React scroll. Okay. Has no exported member section. I don't remember what does that have. Elements. Yeah, it should be an element instead of a section. Totally forgot. So we're gonna have this as an element, and I'm gonna make sure this will take it as an element like that. And there you go. That should work. So for this, it's gonna take a name, which is a mandatory thing, or like a required prop to pass. What is the name of this section? And this is gonna have the name of Explore. Okay, good. Now for the title, I'm gonna name it like, for example, Explore Travel Places or something. This is where the magic is gonna happen. Now let's go ahead and import this Explore section just to see what is going on with this section. If it looks good, not. I'm just gonna see that real quick. So I'm gonna go to the index dots here, explore section. I'm just gonna have it right beneath the top section. There you go. The reason we're having this side by side is because we haven't included that as a flex column. There you go. So this is the first section. So you see, as soon as click on it, it takes us with this awesome smooth scrolling. So whether you click on here, it doesn't give you that smooth thing. But seriously, as soon as you click on this arrow, it just takes you so down in a really smooth way to the next section, which is Explore Travel Places section. So click on it. Hallelujah! That looks sweet. So yeah, those are like sections, and this website is like having different sections. So for this to work, where is that? I'm gonna go back. So this is the title, right? This is the main title we need to take care of. The second one, I'm gonna have some description. I'm gonna have the section info, just some description going on. So I'm gonna have section info, and between that, I'm gonna put the description I wanna just like have for this particular section. Also, I'm gonna have like explore section wrapper, where of course it's gonna be like having the carousel and everything. So saving this, there you go. So this is how it should look like, but this is, yeah, I think that is good enough, right? Okay. All right, sweet. Now, next one we want to have is the carousel. So the carousel here is going to allow us to like, have different images and scroll between that. And we're going to use the like responsive or React responsive carousel package we already installed. So first, let's have the wrapper. So this is the wrapper. Second, right inside of the wrapper, we're gonna have the carousel itself. So I'm gonna put, where's that? So per cursor, it's going to be auto import for us. We need to have this as a children. Now it's going to have different items, right? So each item is going to be different, and each item is a child, is representing a single slideshow screen, and it can have whatever. So for example, you can have an image. Of course, you can have different stuff rather than images. This is not only meant for images. You can slideshow whatever, like text or any other regular element. But images are, of course, the things we need for our case. So this is the image, and we're going to have another one, which is like description. Now, description, for example, is going to say this is the Bali temple, which, of course, we're going to visit, you know, on our little kind of stuff we're going on into it. So what is going on with this? Element is not assignable type. Not exactly sure. Should be the carousel, right? We're basically importing that from right up there. And of course, I remembered that we need a style for this to work. So SRC, yeah, I need the SRC. So let's go and import some images. I already did import some images going to be using, so I'm just going to copy paste them. So those are the images: the Bali temple, we got the Rise terrace, whatever, the exotic Bromo, I think it's a volcano or something. And we got the Malay Maldives, which I don't think it's in Indonesia, but yeah, the picture looks good, whatever. So, and you got the iced tea image in here. And you can have as many images as you want for this. So what was that? I think the Bali temple image. Okay. So item, not sure what is actually going on with this. Div. Yeah, that looks like doesn't take any children for some reason. I'm not sure why. So yeah, it looks like this one is having some types that tells it that it should be multiple child. So yeah, just including the second one would solve the issue, which is pretty ridiculous with TypeScript. So TypeScript, you can basically expect all sort of issues because it's so strict when it comes to typings and choosing the right type of, like, providing the right type to the right elements. So it's good, and sometimes it's a little bit boring, and it's like it makes you feel you want to like cry in front of your monitor or whatever. But yeah, the point is that is working. I'm gonna have multiple images gonna be included. So I'm gonna do the second one is the Rise terrace. Maybe I'm gonna name it terrace. I'm gonna have another one, copy pasting. So I'm gonna have the exotic Bromo. Yeah, you can choose whatever images that, you know, showcases what you have. So this is Mali, Maldives, and I think the iced tea. There you go. Yeah, I've already also included a dynamic height in here to be false. So I don't want this to have any dynamic heights whatsoever, because I want this to take only a fixed height, which is the height of this explore section wrapper, which I've already like set the height into it just to make it look, you know, good, and it works for us. So yeah, I already did that right over here in the wrapper by setting this right height and the max width and max whatever. So yeah, that should work for us perfectly. Okay, so saving this, yeah, we don't need that anymore. Let me go back to Chrome, and there you go. So we got already this temple, which is quite huge. Now I'm gonna try this again. Scroll down, I'm gonna refresh, because this one looks a little bit big, but yeah, I think we can fix this. So I was curious in here, so there's this Bali temple. You can click in here, and it takes you to the second image. Like the final image in here, you can go back, of course, like going back in here, back and forth. You can select the items in here to go, or you can select the preview, the small thumbnail previews down here to, you know, quickly jump between both of these. And they look absolutely tremendous. This cursor is pretty responsive screws in here, and it's mobile friendly. So it's even have this responsiveness going on when you choose to, like, you know, change it to mobile view. Yeah, sorry, can't control my hand, but yeah, there you go. If we go down to, choose responsiveness, something like this for mobile, whatever. There you go. So that is pretty good, and mobile responsive and everything. So since that is already a mobile, yeah, that looks pretty sweet. Taking it down a little bit more, yeah, that still looks, and it's crazy. Works with tapping and just like, sliding it from left to right and everything. You can choose. You still got the chance to choose and everything. Yeah, hallelujah. So that's pretty good, right? Looks really sweet. But we got this issue in here, the teeny tiny issue of like being this tremendously big. So yeah, I think I've added too much in here. So let me decrease this from 3, just decrease it by 1 for both XL and 2XL, because I think that's too much. And yeah, there you go. So that looks pretty good now. Looks pretty sick. Yeah, so that is pretty sweet though. That is looking absolutely tremendous. It's crazy. As soon as, like, for example, let's say I'm gonna go to this web page, right? I type in the domain name, click enter. It's gonna immediately just land me into this first section, and it looks pretty gorgeous. I say Word of Paradise, Indonesia. Oh, that looks sweet. I say, like, let's explore the 3rd largest countries in the world, namely Indonesia. Enjoy 3 vacation packages of competitive prices and strong soul. Wow, that looks good. I want to explore more. What's coming up to this? I want to just immediately just like take my eyes down, because I want to scroll down. I don't want to use the mouse wheel just yet, because yeah, I'm looking, because this one is taking the full page. So you think of it interactive smooth scrolling. So you go down here, you click with the mouse, and it's going to immediately take you to the next section, which is the explore section. And you're going to see this temple, you're going to see the slideshow, you can read view or tour package and find out, blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, you start seeing places and say, oh, we're going to go to all of that? That's pretty sweet. That's pretty good. So yeah, you start signing up and everything. But yeah, that looks pretty good for me. Yeah, pretty sweet. So I think that section is pretty good enough. You can have more stuff. You can have more images, because if you want to attract users for traveling with you or with your agency, you're still going to like provide so many images, and preferably videos, because that is going to be like a game changer for you. But yeah, anyway, that looks good. The next one, the next part we're going to working on is actually working on the footer, and the footer should be minimal, but also just have as much info as you want, like the sitemap, the terms of service, travel guide, and stuff like that. So you need to include important links inside of the footer for people to find what they are looking for before they book the trip with your traveling agency. So let's go ahead and create the footer, and I'm gonna go containers, and I create just inside of that a footer. I mean, footer can be included in 2 places. I think it would be better to have it inside of components in here. So that would be footer. I'm gonna have an index tsx, and that should be the footer. Importing React. Okay, export function, which is gonna be our footer function, everything. All right, pretty good. Now let's start by putting the footer container together. So footer container. I'm gonna use style components in here, or Tailwind directly. It's gonna be a div, because that's the footer. I'm gonna make sure to take the full width, which is very important. The height, I'm gonna do like 96, which is around 384 pixels. So that should be enough. You can make, the bigger the footer is, I think the better it is, but you need to like fill the gaps of the footer, just not making it fully empty. That would be bad. Background, I'm gonna have like dark blue, but this will be like a custom background color for us. So for this to work properly, what we need to do is I need to go ahead and configure Tailwind and extend the actual theme of Tailwind to use our thing in here. So for that to extend is actually we need to like put the extend inside of the theme. Say I want to extend colors, and for the colors I want to like have for example, I want to name this dark blue color. Instead of that, there will be like numbers from 100 to 900. For example, the middle one, which is the 900, I want to have this particular color, which is more like darkish to bluish color, as the name says. So this one will exist as a color as well, what I love about Tailwind and its own extension is it's gonna provide us this through the IntelliSense itself, which is pretty sweet. So make sure just to save this, to reload the config through CRA and Tailwind CLI and everything. Afterward, yeah, that should, let me just save that real quick. And yeah, so we can go and do like BJ, or I think can do dark blue 500. As you see, the IntelliSense got me that, and this is what you got. It looks so good, like so sweet. Okay, so we got both of these. The next one, we're gonna have some margin from the top. I'm gonna flex. Also flex top 6. You know, just having some paddings in general on the footer is pretty good practice. Bring it right to B2 as well. That's pretty good. On larger screens, that would change as well because I want to increase the padding on larger screens. So for example, from the top, we can have 16, right? Let's say you're gonna have 16 on all of them. Left is gonna be 16 too. Sorry. So yeah, top, right. Yeah, we don't have top there. Okay, so that should be it. Also, I want to make sure, in general, the text should be white because we have this dark color background. So yeah, just to have a good contrast. And justify center because I want to justify everything. And item center, both vertically and horizontally. And I want to make sure that this goes as a column of Flexbox. Of course, we're going to have a lot of styles inside of the footer itself. So yeah, the next one, we're going to have a wrapper. So I'm going to do tailwind.div. So this will be a wrapper of the actual section we have on top in here. So like, just like an inner container of the footer itself. So that's what the wrapper is going to be working as. So I'm going to have first flex. Make sure it takes the full width. Justify stuff to the center, sorry. And it should also like justify stuff if it's large to the start, because how that works, because since this footer is going to be like a mobile responsive or a mobile first design, the footer should like be centered. It should have like the items to the center when it's on mobile, because that's the basic experience, to have the footer on center, because the mobile device is pretty small on the screen width. But when it comes to larger screens, you want to have this on the start, as most footers does. So you want to make sure the items or the children inside of the footer go all the way to the left. So that's why I'm having it here to be justify start instead of center. Okay, good. So inner container. I'm going to have this inner container, and the inner container is going to represent the actual inner container to be said. So to see that, let me just go ahead and render stuff first. So I'm going to have footer container. I'm going to have a wrapper. I'm going to put here, for example. Now let's go in and see what is actually going on. So I need to go in and import that first. I need to go in containers, or I need to go to the app.tsx. Beneath that, I can have that. Okay, sorry. Footer. There you go. And yeah, so this is the first section, the second section, and the last but not least, we got the footer in here. So as you see, the footer has already some padding going from left and right. We also need some padding from the top in here. I don't want the bottom because the footer, we can usually have like terms and conditions at the bottom of the footer, which is a pretty good practice. Yeah, so that should make it look good. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we got the up container. Let me just jump back to the footer. So the inner container is going to be like the main container that is going to hold everything. Like the middle container is going to hold the menu. Like for example, you go home, you go explore, travel places. For example, you need to know more about the company, the travel agency, about the team. You know, the regular and ordered menu and the list items you have inside of that. So we can do full width in here, for example, with flex and flex column, because you know that's how we want to do. But for larger screens, we're gonna have flex row, because this only for mobile. I wanna show them as a column instead of a row, because we don't have much of width space, but we have the height. So that's how you should decide how the layout should look like on mobile versus how it should look on larger screens. The other one, we also use flex wrap. So I want to wrap whenever there's no space, just wrap everything to the next line, and this should look to the column instead of to the row whenever there's no space. Also, I want to have the margin top to be 16 because, you know, the mobile is quite like long, so you can have that. But for larger ones, I wanna limit this to only 9, and we can also do justify between. So I want to have like space between the items inside of the inner container, which is going to be the menus inside of that. And for larger screens, just like justify start. So you can have them to the left as always, and the height should be full. Okay, sweet. So that's the first inner container that we got on top there. Now also I'm going to have like the left container and the right container. Now both left container and right container are kind of going to have like the same height, are going to be like side by side, but the left container, which has the menu and everything, should have a little bit larger size or width to the right one, which is going to only just have some social media links. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do in here. So first, left inner container. I can do Tailwind div as always. Now I want to make sure flex. Also want to have like flex like column and row, or grow and not, or grow and shrink, sorry. So I'm going to make sure full width, height, of course. I want to make sure it takes the full height as well. I want to justify stuff between on mobile. But when it comes to larger screens, just I'm going to have the start, as I said before. So I'm going to copy this because it's going to be the same thing. And this should be the right inner container. So this will be kind of the same, but instead of flex 5, it's only going to have a ratio of 1. So that would make the left inner container much bigger, 5 times bigger than the right inner container. So yeah, you can have a little bit more space to the menus instead of like having it to the actual social media, which doesn't need or require more space anyway. So yeah, for that, we're gonna be like having some stuff like, for example, flex can be column, but also I want for larger screens to be flex row. You know, we don't need to be column for that. For the margin bottom, also want to introduce some margin bottom to this because I want the social media to be a little bit up. And the large, so I want to have like a margin bottom from 0 to the bottom right here. So if we go and select that real quick, so yeah, we still have got like flex wrap, and make sure it takes the full width and everything. I don't need justify between in here or justify start. I just want to make sure it takes the full width and the full height, and yeah, that should be it. All right, so let's go and render that. So inner container. All right, so for the inner container, we got the left inner container first, and afterward we got the right inner container. So both of these are going to have a different stuff, but for the first one, the left inner container is going to have the menu and everything. So if we go, yes, curiosity me here is this is the left inner container. If I put that right, I'm going to find this right into the right. So curiosity, this one is taking most of the space, like 75%, and this one has only 25% left. So yeah, we got some panel as well, is working out. So from this section, this part right here, I want to go ahead and put the menu and of course the logo of the company and travel agency and everything. And I want to have like the menus going on here, and right here I want to have like the social media, like the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the Twitter page and stuff. So yeah, I want to have them same way as we do right have here. So for this, I'm gonna have the menu itself for it. So I'm gonna put some menu inside of that, like the menu and the menu item. So const menu styled or tun.ul for an ordered list, and that's what the menu is. So I'm gonna flex column because the menu is gonna have multiple menu items. list none. I don't want any decoration or styles to the in order list. And I'm gonna have some margin right just to separate between the different menus. And for bigger ones, I'm gonna have margin left and margin right that is a little bit bigger just to have more space, because we have more space basically. Okay, menu item. Now this should represent a single li of the menu. So for example, I can do flex and text white, because I want the text to be white because we already have a dark background, and a small text compared to that should be good. Also text base should be good, and margin top should have a 2 of a margin top right here. So if we go, yeah, we don't have that yet. So for the margin top, that should go pretty good. So let's go and have the menu item here. Alright, so that should have the menu item in here, and of course we can have like the A inside of it just to take it somewhere. But the first ones in here can have the link, which should take, for example, to home, which is a section which of course we have already defined. So this is a first menu item. We can have the rest. So Explorer, for example, this one, travel places or something. And yeah, you can have here Explorer, home, and let's say travel places, which we don't have a section for, but yeah, still that should look good for this particular menu. So this is the first menu. We can have, you know, as many menus as we want, but yeah, so we can have you know, many videos, and we can just test what's going on. So if we're gonna save, that should give us a pretty good menu. There you go. So the menu, yeah, looks pretty sweet. We still don't have the logo on top in here, so I want to like display the logo of Travalia, like this particular logo, and display it right on the top right there. So yeah, I want to have that right up there, and we should have like a top section or something that tells us where to put that. So for example, I can do top section. So there should be a div as well. So flex, maybe a flex column, or just make sure it takes the full width. I'm gonna justify center, so it will vertically be justified, and or sorry, that will basically justify it on the center on the mobile horizontally, because as I said before, on mobile we want everything to be on the center because we don't have much space from the left and right. So yeah, you know, the main part where you want the user to look at is actually the center, so just having the logo there would make it look so good. And obviously for bigger screens, we can just do start just to have it on the left. Now for this, we got the wrapper, and we're gonna have the top section, which is gonna have the logo, which I'm gonna import because we already got the components in here, and that is the components we got from the top right there. Sweet, so that should look good. And there you go, so that is Travalia right on top there. Yeah, I think that should be out of the wrapper itself. And there you go, so that is looking pretty good. So what we can do is actually get rid of that, the justify center, just to, you know, make sure we don't vertically justify that or center that. And also I want to make sure this goes inside of the wrapper, and the wrapper here needs a flex column because it's supposed to go inside of the wrapper, and I totally forgot to have it there. And yeah, there you go. So we got the menu in here, we got the right section and everything. And yeah, so the wrapper in here is looking pretty sweet actually. So we got that already for the wrapper and everything. Also for the wrapper, what I want to do is actually just have some maximum height, because I don't want the exclusion here right now for the footer. It's taking as much height as or as much width as it could find, which is pretty bad. We don't want that. I want to like have it a maximum width that I could go to. So the larger screen is, I don't want the footer just to split up on the screen and just like, you know, spoil everything up. So I just want to have some maximum width to go on the footer itself. So for that, I want to do like maximum width, something like 6XL for regular stuff, and for larger ones I'm gonna do 7XL, and that is around 1280 pixels. So you got the point. That should look pretty good as well for that. And width in here and the height should be as well full. Okay, sweet. So there you go. We got that limited, and that looks much better though. And that if you're gonna see it in a smaller screen. So if we go to a smaller screen and try to do a responsive, as you see, it looks good as well in a small screen, like a 12 or a 720p screen. Yeah, that is looking good as well. So the more you go into it, just goes responsive. As you see, the menu now it's kind of like centered. We got the logo centered as well. So that is looking more like a mobile friendly kind of thingy to go into. So yeah, that is looking good already. All right, sweet. So let me jump back into here. I want to get rid of that. So let's continue doing that. We got the menus and everything going on. Now I'm gonna just deal with the next section, which is gonna be the section is gonna have like the bottom section. We're gonna have basically like the copyrights and different other links like privacy and security and sitemap and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do bottom section. So this will be a div as always. Now for bottom section, so this will take full width. It's gonna also be flex. It's gonna be flex row and flex wrap for mobile devices. I'm gonna center all the items. Just gonna be vertically, and also gonna justify them center horizontally as well. So I'm gonna give them that, or I think that would be too bad. Let's go and have justify between. Yeah, I'm gonna have padding to the right of 4. Then yeah, padding to the right as well. So just like have some padding from the left and right, the same. And for the height, I'm gonna say 28 pixels, which is 112 pixels, or height 28, not 28 pixels, sorry. And for larger screens, I don't want to have less height, which is 14. So the 28 is only for mobile devices, as I said before. And the bottom, I want this to stick to the bottom. So border top, so I'm gonna give it some border top. Sorry. So border T, I'm gonna have some grays like 300. Should look good. And also, I'm gonna introduce some border opacity of 50. All right. So that is the the bottom section right here. Looks pretty good. The next one is the copyright. Now this should be the copyright text, which is like all rights reserved, trivial or whatever, like 2021 and stuff. So yeah, that should have like a small text. In fact, that should have an extra small one. So I'm gonna use font size. I'm gonna do X small, which is a very small variant in here. The other one, X text gray, something like 500 or 300. All right. Yeah, so I want to have some grayish text in here, so make sure this takes the full width for mobile devices. But for larger devices, why I make this take the full width, because I want this to be on top, then everything comes afterward. So width to be auto, and I want to center the text with text center. Good. The other one I'll have like small text, which is gonna be the same thing, like a span or something. We could have this as a span as well. So this should be a Tailwind. Okay, so for this, it's gonna be small size. We're gonna have like basically a little bit bigger one, which is the small variant. And I'm gonna do like the text gray 300, which is basically the same thing. The reason I'm using grayish instead of completely white, because those are not an important links. So you want to like, just don't focus on those much. Don't let the user notice those much unless he's looking for them. So yeah, that's how the design hierarchy should look like. So you need just to make them focus on what they need the most, which is the menu and the other footer stuff, the logo and stuff like that. And the smaller stuff should like have a gray zone like they won't look that bold. Okay, and yeah, we got another one, so like social media. Now those social media are gonna be the social media stuff, but I think, yeah, let's have them right here. So I'm gonna have small text and the copyright going on here first. So inner container, just after that I'm gonna have a bottom section, and it's gonna have a copyright text. Now for the copyright text, to get the copyright text properly, of course you might want to use something like, let me grab the C in here. Okay, well this should be outside, but yeah, you might want to like use some API to get the year properly. But what I'm gonna do in here, I'm just gonna use the new date function, which is not perfect, because if the user's machine or the user's operating system has a wrong date, this will affect the website as well. So you don't want to do that. Mainly you won't, but there are some cases you would. So you don't want this to happen. It would look like a bug. So yeah, you would rather have it in a bare way. So I'm gonna do Travalia all rights reserved. Sweet. So this is the copyright text. The rest of the small text is gonna be more like links, small links. For example, I'm gonna have an A in here. So this, for example, is gonna be terms of service. So this is the first small text, second, third, fourth. Yeah. For example, this will be privacy policy. The other one, for example, we're gonna have security. So if you want to see the different security sections of the website, or like an article, or just the terms regarding the security of the website, and the sitemap. Okay. Yeah, those should look good already. So if we jump back, there you go. So we got this real good container at the bottom. With all rights reserved in here, Travalia, we got terms of service, privacy policy, security, and sitemap, and everything. They lay down right into there, so you don't have much of intention. So they look pretty sweet and small and pretty good. Yeah, the last thing in here we're gonna have on this right section, which we're gonna like render the social media stuff we already have. So for that case, I'm gonna create the other stuff, which is the social media container, whatever thing you want to call it. So I want this to be flex, and I want to justify to the center. Okay, I don't want to have much of stuff, but I'm gonna have also an icon which represents a single social media icon. So I'm gonna have this as a span, and let's say the height is gonna be 6. So just like the fixed height for it. I'm gonna flex margin to the right, something like 6, or I don't know, 6 or 4. I don't want to have too much margin. Also a cursor pointer, because he wants to click and take him to that. So transition, I'm gonna have colors for the transition, and so over in here I'm gonna have like text gray -300 and whatever, and that should do the job perfectly. So if I jump back here and go to the right section, then I can have that included. So social media, then I can have, for example, an icon. Then here I should go ahead and use a separate icons from the React icons package. So the icons I'm gonna use, they are where is that? So it's called SE. I don't know if I can find that, but SE Facebook. Yeah, they look pretty sick and pretty minimal. That's why I chose this icons pack. So I'm gonna import this from React's icons /SE or SI. I don't know why I'm saying that in French, but yeah. Okay, and I have like a size of 25 pixels. Okay, what is that? Has no corresponding closing tag. Okay, why do you need one? This should be like Instagram. We should be having it there. We should have this for Twitter, not Twitch. So that should be imported. Where is that? Did it? Yeah, it is imported. We don't have a closing tag. There you go. Okay, pretty sweet. That looks pretty sweet. We got the transition, some hover effects. So it's always nice to include those in icons. So you just you make them look minimal enough while you make them shining up, where you just hover over them. You say, oh, this is a link to my Facebook page, or this is a link to my Instagram page, or whatever. And since this is a travel agency, having social media is very important as well, just to communicate with your clients, chat, showcase the places that you're going to take them, showcase the travels that you did with the rest of the people, just to showcase that, especially on Instagram and Twitter for having it news and stuff. Yeah, so those kind of stuff, they would look good. But yes, those are the icons. As you see, the hover effects is working pretty good, and they look so sweet. And they are in the top right here. So yeah, they look pretty sweet. You can click on them, takes to that. We got the icon from here, and this is what the menu is looking like. You can have different stuff for the menu, obviously. So let's say, for example, I am gonna have different stuff. For example, for this one, you're gonna have about us, contact us. For doing context, if you're planning to do something customized with the travel, and our travel terms, just menus. So company, careers, if you wanna join our team and start working with us. Something else, maybe travel guide. I don't know, whatever you basically want to find for this. But yeah, that should look good, and maybe those should be cleared out too. Yeah, those are links, so they should take you to a separate page, to a separate PDF, I don't know, separate link, whatever. So those are external links in general. Okay, so yeah, they look good right now. So the company and everything, the icon, as you see, go down from the top to the bottom. Yeah, it looks pretty sick with this carousel going with an awesome slideshow. So that is looking pretty sweet. Yeah, you got this landing page with this awesome made up text. Yeah, I love that. I'm in love with that. That looks pretty sweet as well. And that should also look pretty good when it comes to mobile. So if we inspect that, if we go to the footer, there you go. It looks so sweet though. Yeah, it looks pretty good. If you scroll down, you see this is what it looks for as a responsive. You see, as soon as you just take this down, it does that really well and really responsively. You got the all rights reserved, you got terms, privacy, security, sitemap, the menu right here, the logo, and the social media icons, which they are made up in a really made cool, awesome layout. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good right here. So yeah, that's pretty sweet with the travel packages and everything in here. Maybe we can have some padding to this. So I'm gonna have this one right here. So let me jump right quick. Where's the export section? So we got the item and the description. So this description, so I'm gonna have so padding to be 8, but when it comes to large screens, so padding left is gonna be just for large screens, padding right is just gonna be 4. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's I think the description. I don't think this is actually a description. Yeah, that shouldn't be. So let me just get back here to 4. I think for the description, we gonna this is the title and this is the section info. Sorry, this is not a description, but this is more like a section info. Okay, so for larger ones, maybe 2. Here, maybe 4. I don't know, let's see how that would look like. So there you go. That's how it kind of looks like now when it comes to mobile. Yeah, it's much better than it was before. Also for the title, it's not really that sleek. So maybe 3XL for that sake. Yeah, travel places. That is much better. Okay, and here margin top for the 2XL, margin top in here, maybe 8 as well. Yeah, I think that is 100% better. So if you scroll down, it's clear you're going to see that in action. That is much better. Do we have margin bottom? We don't have any margin bottom. So just like always when designing responsive websites, you're always going to just like stumble upon this teeny tiny issues of having complexities with good design. So to have an overall good design and make sure everything is completely perfect on all screens, from mobile, medium-sized tablets and laptops to large 1080p screens or 4K screens, to make sure that happens, just always open up the inspector tool in here and go through the elements and try to figure out what is the teeny tiny things that is about every single screen that is making it look a little bit, harsh, maybe, less good, whatever the thing it is. But like the point is, it should always look pretty good. So you see that the menu here, the hamburger, still looks pretty good as well. So from that library, the logo in here, we got the text resized. So if I'm on mobile and go into this, yeah, I would definitely love that. I would definitely see that as a pretty good one. This text might need as well a little bit of margin top. Yeah, so margin top to be about 6, and for the larger ones, margin top should be 0. So this for like laptops, I don't wanna have that margin top, if that makes sense. So if I go back, yeah, that still looks pretty good on larger screens. Going back to mobile, yep, that still looks pretty good. If I select an iPhone X, yeah, I guess that's good enough. You can basically discard this full screen height on mobile if you want to, but that still looks pretty good for me. Yeah, that still looks sick. This description is not really making it up, so we maybe wanna just go in and do like this info section, floating text outlined, the description in here. So maybe you can have a maximum of XS, and there you go. So that is much better for me. If I choose responsiveness in here, yeah, I think this definitely is gonna make it 100% better. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. If we remove that, we go back to our original website, refresh everything up, boom, we got an awesome traveling website that is, a single landing page but has multiple sections with smooth scrolling and an awesome, incredibly awesome design. And plus, we did all of that using third-party libraries from React. We did React Hamburger for responsiveness and everything, so that is looking absolutely awesome. And we also got like some React stuff like going on behind the scenes, like we use custom icons for React. We use some awesome SVG and like stuff in here for text, outline text and everything. It's pretty sweet. And React Scroll, of course, overall, it looks so smooth with this scrolling behavior and everything. And yeah, so the footer in here looks sick as well. And the responsiveness is so good. So that was actually, guys, for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you actually enjoyed like every moment or every minute we took to build this incredibly good website together. And hope you guys catch you all in another video, just like, just creating in here or any other video on Code One's channel. So please guys, make sure to leave a like if you loved this video and subscribe to see more of these type of videos. And of course, as always, you're gonna find the full GitHub link and the full projects down below in the description, or you can go to my GitHub at ipinowes, and you can find my GitHub profile there. You can find the repository, all the code is gonna be there, all the images, the whole source code, so you can download it, you can do whatever with it, you can fork it, whatever you want. But yeah, thank you guys for watching as I said before. Hope you guys enjoyed this one as I enjoyed creating this video, and catch you all hopefully in the next ones.